All right, Hugh, I'm glad you started us off on a fun note here because I've been thinking about something here, Hugh, and it's almost been under the radar because on this show, we have spent more time trying to get you off of the hill that you are clearly you're falling apart on, which is the defense is a luxury, not a necessity. But this Eagles defense is obviously a necessity. They have been great this year. And Hugh, I'm just trying to put into context how great they've been. You know, they've gone from when the year started, it was like, all right, let's just hope they can be a middle-of-the-pack defense. And then they started playing and playing well, especially post-bye, and it's like, whoa, they're better than middle of the pack. Maybe this is a top 10 defense. And then we zoom past that, and it's like, no, this is one of the 5 best defenses in the league. And now we wake up today, or, you've been awake for a while, I've been awake for a while, but we are on the air today, and we have an Eagles defense that is tied for first in the NFL in yards per game given up. They are, in points per game given up, 17.6, tied for number 1. They are number 1 in yards per game allowed. They are number 1 in yards per play allowed. This is the best defense in the NFL, but I want to take it one step further. I'm ready to say this is the best Eagles defense I've ever seen. And I know there's been some great ones, and Hugh will go over the one that you were on, and you were on a couple really good ones, but especially 2002. But I'm just thinking back to the ones that I have a good recollection of. Now, the 91 defense was great. I was young. I could go back and tell you things about it, but it's not like I remember seeing every game. I was too young. But all the defenses since then, I've got a good feel for. And the 2022 defense was outstanding at 70 sacks 2 years ago. But they faced a lot of tomato can quarterbacks. And when they faced good ones like Dak or Mahomes, they kind of got lit up. This year's defense has not gotten lit up, even by the best quarterbacks. You go back to 2017. They won the Super Bowl. I think it's an underrated defense. But they gave up a lot of yards, and they gave up more points than this year's defense. I go back to 2004. Very good defense, but you guys are probably a little bit older. 2002, I would say before this year, is probably the best defense that I've ever seen the Eagles have. But as I looked this morning, you guys faced a bunch of tomato cans. I'm looking at a defense this year that has taken on Lamar, Burrow, Stafford, Russ, Jordan Love, Jaden Daniels, and yet they still rank number 1 in the NFL in points per game allowed. This is the best Eagles defense I've ever seen. 215-592-9494. They may end up having 3 players make an all-pro team. Jaylen Carter, Zach Bond, Quinyon Mitchell, Hugh Douglas. We all want to hear your perspective on this because we know what you said before the year in the last 2 years. But now, is this the best Eagles defense you've ever seen?
Now, listen, I understand that whatever I say, everybody's waiting with bated breath to hear what I have to say. And I want to say thank you for all the people that sent me the messages about defense as a luxury and what color my beard or whether or not I'm going to shave it off. I'm glad you're concerned. I appreciate that. This is not coming from a place of hatred. It's not.
Oh, boy.
Because I see where you're going. No, I mean, allow me to long talk just for a minute because I see where you're going. Because when you look at this defense, they're young and they're playing well in their young careers. And they're playing like a cohesive unit early in their young careers. And they have the potential to be the best defense or one of the best defenses in the history of the NFL. But just let me give you my criteria when I think about teams like that.
Okay.
I think of Super Bowl champion teams. If you're asking me, honestly, even though they gave up like 1 million yards in the Super Bowl, the team that won the Super Bowl, to me, is the best defense in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Wow, 2017.
Yeah, and it's funny, and when I say that, I remember watching that game, and I think Tom Brady offensively, they gave up like 500 yards or something like that. And I know that sounds crazy, but they were able to do something that no other team was able to do since Chuck McNair's team way back in the day before they called it the Super Bowl. So that's kind of where I lie with mine. But I understand how everybody feels, where they're coming from, because when you look at this defense as a collective, and I'll take it to the year that I played. We had a bunch of young players. And then we had some veteran players because, that's when Trot got here. Ike, Troy Vincent was already here. Bobby Taylor was here for a few years. Me and Bobby Taylor came in the same class, as a matter of fact. So we were a little bit longer in the tooth as far as the NFL is concerned. But when you look at this team and the adversity that they faced coming into the season and all the question marks that they had coming into this season, I think it's giving people a lot. They've given people a reason to be excited about them. And I understand exactly where you're coming from because the way that they're trending And the fact that they're young, they're going to be together for a while.
Well, they really could.
And this is the first year in this defense. So, yeah, I get where you're going, but not yet. Not yet.
215-592-9494. What a surprise. Hugh Douglas is not throwing flowers at this Eagles defense. What a surprise. It's become the best Eagles defense I've ever seen. It's interesting, Hugh, you brought up the 2017 defense because I think a lot of people probably – it's hard for them to look past some of the numbers and what happened in the Super Bowl. But I actually think that defense is underrated in 2017. They really were good for a lot of the year. They only allowed 17 points in the 2 home playoff games before they got to the Super Bowl. Then Brady put up a lot of yards, a lot of points. But they did make the play. I thought they were good at all 3 levels. It was outstanding, that Eagles defense that year. 215-592-9494. I'm watching this defense, though, come together. And they just have really, really good players throughout. Obviously Carter's their best player. But they've got good players at defensive line, at pass rush, at linebacker, at defensive back. They're deep. They've withstood an injury here to Brandon Graham. And, you go back to some of the great defense they've had the last, 20-something years, and you think about the best player on those defenses, right? Like 2 years ago was probably Hassan Reddick. And in 2017, their best defensive player was probably Fletcher Cox. And you go back to 2002, it was Brian Dawkins and you, Hugh. You guys were the best ones on that defense. This year, it's Jaylen Carter. Listen to what Dick Vermeil said recently about Jaylen Carter. We all know he's an outstanding talent, but hearing Dick Vermeil putting it in this perspective was incredible. Here's Vermeil on the morning show.
What about Jaylen Carter specifically reminds you of Reggie White?
Explosion. Yeah. He has tremendous explosion on the snap. Physical strength and explosion for a man that size. When he comes out of his stance, he gives you a headache on every snap, and that's what Reggie White could do. I think when he develops better use of his arms, and the club and all this kind of stuff, and don't stay in front of a guy quite as long as he does because he has the ability to throw him one way or the other. I think as he's coached by our fine coaching staff, he'll start even getting sacks. But again, sometimes the reason they got a sack is because the 2 guys were blocking him.
I mean, that is huge.
That's no lie, Toad. Whew. And you know what's funny? When he said that, I saw flashes of that his rookie year. And then, the internet, trying to compare him to Jerome Brown. All these. I'm like, dog, I played in the trenches. And violent hands, that's the one thing that you always hear coaches say when it comes to playing defense line. You got to have violent hands. You always got to get that separation. That's part of the reason why, early on, Bryce Huff couldn't get off the ball because he had short arms and it was hard for him to get that separation. Jaylen Carter, just watch him. If you get a chance this weekend, just watch him on the initial snap, how when he lays hands on somebody, how their body just jerks and like it's like he sends a shock wave through their body. We were talking about this in the meeting, and I told you, Joe, I said, you don't understand how hard he slapped Buddy across his head. Because when he slapped, go back, people, because I know it's all over the internet, and look at the slap that he had when he got the non-penalty. And Coach Sirianni, got on the sideline and cursed him out. He slapped that guy so hard that he probably could have, if he'd have slapped him a little bit harder, probably could have broke his neck. Mm-hmm. That's the kind of power that he's dealing with. And on every play, you see these big 300-pound offensive linemen leaning on him, and they can't move him. They can't move him. He controls 2 or 3 guys at a time, and he still pushes the pocket. That is something that everybody can't do. Everybody can't do that. Hell, I couldn't do it. Hollis, as big as he was, he could stand in the hole like that, but he didn't have the kind of power where you could snatch a guy down and run past him. He didn't have any of that. So it's a rare combination of the size and the speed that makes him the special player.
215
and the power.
592-9494. Is this the best Eagles defense you've ever seen? I have moved to saying yes. It's every week. They haven't allowed a team to score 20 points on them, or more than 20 points, since the bye, since week 4 of the season.
Yeah, they balling.
It's been an incredible run. They have a great defensive coordinator. And I keep looking at these other defenses we've seen around here in the last 25 years, including the one you played on, Hugh. And I'm like, wait a second. All right. They're up there statistically with any of these defenses. They might have 3 players make an all-pro team. We've never had that here since, we got to go back way back in the day to have 3 all-pros. Your team had 2. The 2022 team had 2 all-pros. 2017 had 0 all-pros. It's collective, but they have this one great player in the middle. It all flows off of that. And then listen to Ray Dittinger this week talking about their speed on the defensive side and how fast they are to the football.
The thing that jumps off the screen at you, at least it does to me, is the speed of this defense. I mean, they are so fast. I mean, in comparison to what you were last year, I mean, they are so fast. I mean, they get so many people to the football, and they're so well coached. They're always in position. They're always, and I think Tom Brady did a pretty good job of this yesterday in doing the analysis. Was showing how Vic Fangio leverages the coverages. In relation to the personnel they're facing, how they will roll the coverage away from one side and overload the other. They're a very tough team to play against. There's right now, and that's what you see. I mean, you see a defense that's extremely well coached, very disciplined, really fast, really physical, and the best part about it is it's the youngest defense in the league.
Well, and that's what Hugh's point. It can get better and better and better. 215-592-9494. We'll start here. This defense has really been incredible to the point where Hugh's beard is in so much trouble. I mean, it's at this point, it's either gone or it's green, but you're cooked here, man.
It might be trending that way.
It might be.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Might be.
Yeah, it might be.
Top 5 of 5 yesterday was about the hill you're dying on, and you are dying on this thing.
Oh, is that what it was?
Thanks
a lot, Jack. Appreciate you.
Part of it.